Greetings, everybody. It's Jeff Scott. This is my weekend market update. It's March 20th, 2022. Title today, will junk off the bottom rally, excuse me, lead to a new bull market? My email address is hgsidoc@gmail.com. I welcome comments, remarks, thumbs up, thumbs down, and please subscribe if you like this. As always, this is for education purposes only. Any recommendations are in the spirit of education and not investment advice. I would certainly advise you to be careful of taking any investment decisions that you hear off the internet, especially from a service like mine that you're not paying anything. I'm a doctor, not a broker. Tools demonstrator, those that I use in my daily trading. I have paid for the tools I demonstrate, and trading involves risk. You alone are solely responsible for any investment decisions you make. That's it. Wrong thing. All right, that's it on the PowerPoint. So let's go ahead. And I wanted to review a couple of things, and it's in spreadsheet form, but I want to go very quickly. First, Wealth 365 events coming up next week. I will be speaking Monday. I took that day off from work, actually 2 weeks from now, I'm sorry. I will be Monday between 11 and 1. I'll be in a session with Rob Hoffman and Dr. Keith Wade. I'll be speaking again on Friday. During the Wealth 365 event, I have put a number of my marketplace packages up as prizes, so they'll be free for a couple of lucky winners. Registration is here. Of course, I'll put it in the YouTube email or YouTube remarks column so you can cut and paste. The markets, I like looking at 1 day, 5 day, and off 52 high week returns. This is the weekend of the 20th. This is something I do in HGSI. As I mentioned in the long version of this, which I may or may not post, I'll probably just share that with people I know because it's way too long. I'll probably do an HGSI user video this week because there's a great tool for finding stocks to buy when the market turns, just using something that Ian taught us called the boxes. And I'd like to just remind people that, because if this market's bottoming here, they're a great tool to use. If I look at 1 day return, what stands out to me are things like ARK, Bitcoin, and FANG, things that have been really trailing, came up to the top. If I look at the 5 day return, Wowzer, 18.3 on ARK Innovation, FANG up 14.3. Bitcoin 12.5 on the week. The VIX short, meaning the opposite of the VIX, SPXY, was up 8.8. Biotech, which has been a big lagger, 26% off its highs, was up 8.6%. If you look at where the 52 weeks are, and I really like to look at the major indexes, the Qs are now 14% off. The Nasdaq is 14.3 and the Russell 15.2. So I guess technically they're no longer in bear market territory. The S&P 500 is 7.4% off the highs. I'm looking at this column here. I'm sorry, I should have told you. The Dow is 6%, so they're out of correction territory. So this has been a big change this week. Things that are still pretty far off the 52-week high, and why I said junk off the bottom. ARK, Bitcoin, Biotech, IBD 50, and FANG are all in bear market territory, led to the bottom by the ARK Innovation. Warehouse report is a tool that I use to compare return to various factors. I look at fundamentals taken at the prior week's close, and I go forward. What do those fundamentals mean? There's a story here. The story is stocks to the left, meaning low ERG. ERG is kind of it's a score that combines earnings, relative strength, and group. The worst ERG, the best return. Good ERG, meaning market leaders, the worst return. This is junk off the bottom. Look at how bad high relative strength stocks did over here. Here's the scale compared to low relative strength. Stocks in good groups did worse. Earnings per share is always good, but even stocks with no earnings did equally well. And stocks that were accumulating A and B the prior week had the worst week compared to stocks that were distributing. This is junk off the bottom. We saw a lot of that with the market turn in 2020. Nasdaq, just want to concentrate on the last 5 days here. Notice the new lows have gone away. Not many new highs yet. We got a eureka on the Nasdaq on Wednesday. That's a Ian Woodward and something that I've adapted, follow through day, and that's very bullish. And you had a couple of kahunas, so that was interesting. And just notice that the advanced decliners, the decliners are down, even though they were up on Friday. Friday was a crazy day. It was quadruple bewitching, big turnaround day. I got burned, if I maybe tell you why. It burned in a funny way, not an economic burn. And then the advances are much higher than they were. That's very bullish. What did I mean by I got burned? I had some calls that were so out of the money that I feared they're going to expire worthless. And then I was moderating a program for my day job, so I was at the mic for 4 hours during the last 4 hours of the market. And then I woke up on Saturday to find out I received a lot of stock that I didn't think I was going to get. It's a good sign. It means the stock went up a lot. My calls were in the money, but they were so far out in the morning I had thought there was no chance. I think that's a bullish sign, frankly. If I look week over week, 8.2% is just a big week. If I look at the NYSE, the same thing. The new lows have gone. Advanced decliners have turned very bullish compared to what had been big negative numbers. The kahuna that we saw on the NYSE and a couple that we saw on the Nasdaq this week are signs of momentum coming in. And so I'm getting a little bit more optimistic about the market. The buckets, this takes the stocks in the S&P 1500 and tells me where they fall between their Bollinger Bands. 80% are above the midline, bullish. And you can look at the various deciles between the bottom and the top, above and below, and it's very bullish and not overbought picture right there. I like to look at things like energy, and I just wanted to point this out. And again, I have nothing to do with the choice of advertising. My wife must have been using my browser. The Baltic Exchange Dry Index is something important to me because I've got a giant, my biggest position is ZIM, and I've got some Star Bulk and others, and you can look for turns there. I track this. Turns out this is a free thing. It's tradingeconomics.com. I'm sure there's a paid service, but I can go in and look at, for example, commodities, and I get a great report. So when you see these, I'm getting the data from somewhere, and I think it's important that I actually tell you where I'm getting that data from. Oh, okay. So when we look at the energy complex, look at year over year, and you can see how much it's moved. But we've got a lot of negatives, including coal down over 9%. Natural gas in Europe down big, so we must think the Putin war is almost over. So energy changed this week, and it's certainly off of its highs. We look at the metals, you can see the most outstanding has been lithium, although it was flat on the week. So I look at this on a daily basis. Economic news, I get this from econoday.com, and I show this to you because, again, it's another free service or free thing on the web, econoday.com. This comes out on Sunday. If I do these before Sunday, I use Market Watch Calendar, which is great too. What I like about this one is it tells me a lot of information by day. If I see a red dot, it's a market moving thing. If I see a green dot, it's important. But what I noticed was all these emphasized bold names. And that tells me a lot too, because if I see these names, I'm going to hold that for 1 second. Sorry, I had to answer the call. I was just saying when I see the bold names, it means the heads are speaking. I thought Powell was extremely bearish at the last conference. The market loved it. So I don't think they're going to talk down what he said, but typically the Fed heads sometimes moderate if the market's concerned. I think we're going to get a lot more hikes. We're going to get them quickly, and maybe that's good to cut down the inflation in the market. Earningswhispers.com, again, free. Go to the website or follow them on Twitter. This will pop up over the weekend for you, and it's a list of the stocks that have earnings this week. As I've often said, it's good judgment to, it's a judgment call to make decisions about holding or not when you know earnings are coming. If I have lots of gains, I might hold. If I'm a long-term story, I might hold. I might buy puts to protect me, sell calls. But to not know earnings are coming and to get blindsided is bad judgment. My market thoughts, what I'm going to do is change this one sheet week to week. I know people like the thoughts. These are the changes. Market seems to accept the Ukraine war. Fed was bearish. Hard to not be somewhat bullish or not bearish. Fed was, I should change that word. And let me do that. I'm going to change that word to, wasn't bearish. In fact, maybe you would say it was bullish on the economy. It was hawkish. Fed was hawkish. And I can't spell. I'll leave it. I thought it was hawkish in my opinion. Hard not to be more bullish here. I'm not sure the worst is over, but markets seem short-term to want to go higher. Be careful, there's resistance right above us. This was a junk off the rally as I showed you. Hopefully you agree with what I said. If you don't, comment. That make this two-way. So I'm still cautious. I put more money in. I'm going to be nimble. And I'm going to trade the market I have, not the one they tell me we have on TV. And again, please consider joining us at the Wealth 365 event. I took the day off because I want to listen to other speakers, and I'll be cheating during the week listening to them as well. Let's take a look at the markets and wealth charts. As I said, I might do, I did a long version that was too long. I might post it anyways. For those that want to spend an hour and a half listening, this is for you. So very quickly, what I see here on the indexes is all over. Break above downtrending trend line support, run up through the 50 in most cases, up very close to the 200-day moving average. One would expect after a move like this to see a pause to refresh. That would be the natural place. So I'd be looking to run into resistance and best case break through and retest and go higher. Potentially you could see a little bit of consolidation there. Worst case would be to come back and test lows. We had a new EMS signal in here. I'm waiting for a wealth signal to pop in. The daily bongo went green. I could go through all of them, and I'm just very quickly going to show you the same thing on the Qs, on the Dow. Russell, interesting, 200 is way high. It's going to run into the bottom of its Starvis box, which has been resistance before. VIX topped on Tuesday, came down the rest of the week. That's probably bullish on the market. And the dollar on the daily softened, still up at recent highs. On the weekly, it sort of has had a big move as well. It was higher in March of 2020, but it's really been moving up of late. If I look at my guppy charts, the multiple moving averages, notice the EMS signal is fired on all of them, bullish. We are getting into the channels on the S&P. A break above these channels on these multiple moving averages would be hugely bullish. Right now, I'm in an area of thinking we've got resistance coming, and I'll be more cautious if we fail there. From a commodities perspective, we know that oil peaked, as did gold, pretty much the same time that we said we're going to block Russian oil imports, which is kind of interesting. And you could see here what interest rates have done, and this is a weekly of the TNX. So something perhaps to be wary. Now, I get a lot of questions about, is my EMS indicator the same as Rob's wealth signal? I have no idea what goes into Rob's wealth signal, but the answer is no. Notice that if we go down here, my EMS turned positive. Early, Rob's signal came in. Rob's signal has been great. The wealth signal, it's still bullish. I'm a little bit more whipside during a market that is choppy. I avoided some of this pullback if I look at the signal, and I'm bullish again. If I knew the market was going to go higher, I'd rather not see intermediate signals. But for my trading, I like seeing the quicker signals, and that's why we call it the early movement signal. All right, let's continue moving along. Market theme. I look at big stocks versus small stocks. If it's up to the upper right, it's big. Lower right is small. Clearly, for the longest period of time, for heck, over a year, big was leading. Now we got small stocks making a statement. If we look at the short term on an hourly, you can see again that ever since beginning of February, small stocks have started to make a statement. Again, up here, direction, big stocks, here, small. What about growth versus value? Well, Up here is growth, and growth led until the end of last year, Thanksgiving time, and then value took over. Now, is growth coming back? It certainly did on the last couple of days. If we look at the hourly, you could see that where growth seems to be making a stand. Are we rotating back into small cap growth? Wow, that would be great for people who like to buy the IBD 50. For the sectors, I use a ratio chart. And the ratio charts, to me, sort of normalize the different commodities. What I want to point out is there's been rotation, that utilities are up, real estate are up, healthcare is up, discretionary is up. Things like communications are still down, but things like Google are interesting buy points. Energy has come off the high, financials have come off the high, industrials are still up, but they've come down some, and look at Mr. Technology moving up. Now, as a top-down investor, my approach to the market, which I'll review in greater detail at the Wealth 365 event, is for me to start with Sector Scanner, and let's go back to the beginning. And what I do is I go into the little filter here, and default watch list, weekend review. This is for the long side. And what I want to do typically is I look at daily algo scores, and I want to bring up the top performing sectors. Now this is interesting. Typically I would take the top 3. Now what was the biggest performer this week? I mean on Friday? Technology and healthcare. So I'm wondering if I shouldn't be spending more time there. Look at the weekly performance. So let's drop out utilities and energy. And let's look at basic materials, healthcare, and tech. Let's hit compare. These are the various industry groups. Let's rank them by daily algo score. And let's go down and let's go down through solar. How about, oops. I got to clear them all first. There we go. Okay, so I've got the industry groups here that I'm interested in. Now I'm going to go compare, and it's going to bring up the top stocks. It's ranked by algo score. Look at, for example, Horizon Pharmaceuticals. So I mentioned healthcare is turning around, and look at the move that this guy has had. Gigantic run up over time, pull back, now took out the major moving averages, even got a Welsh signal. But is it gone too far? I might look down here at my high jump bar and you can see where that's sitting. But what I might want to do here is I might want to take all the bullish stocks up to say 750 usually is a cutoff I look at. Now I'm not going to go into too much detail about it because to be honest, I'm still learning how to use it. Rob and Ted and team have put some awesome things in. Some I asked for, some other people must have asked for. For filters now, we're going to be able to filter by percent change. So maybe I just want to know of this list, how many have had over the last week had a change greater than or equal to, say, 20%. That's a huge number. Will anybody make it? Huh. So these are stocks that have really had a move up. So this might be a way to find stocks that are starting to break out that have not had their big run. Well, we know lithium. Is this a lithium? This must be a lithium play, a low-cost lithium play. I would say we know lithium is moving. We saw lithium on the economics of how much it's moved. So just a tease, I'm not sure if everybody has that yet, but boy, oh boy, what a great, great new tool that they've added to us. Reset filters, there you go. Put that back to where it came from and apply, and you get the big list. So I added those to my watch list. That would be a top-down approach. A bottoms-up approach, which I will sometimes do as well, would mean I would go back to the basic sector list, hit all of them, compare, then hit all the industry groups, hit compare, and then go down as far as I want to go down and take all the stocks that meet those criteria. I think when I look at a bottoms up list, those percent change things are probably even a good. I mean, I think wealth signals, the wealth signal score, the algo scores are awesome right now. I've watched Rob make some incredible picks, but now being able to pick up change. So I've taken the top group. I know I'm in my weekend review, add to watch list, and it's going to go ahead and it's going to populate. If you're doing this and you find nothing shows up in a list, you probably have a filter still hit. And the way to undo the filters is to hit reset filters and then start all over. And I bet you'll find what you want. All right. All right. So now I've built a bullish watch list. Before I did this, I actually built a bearish watch list. But to be honest with you, this is a week that feels like it still might be bullish in the beginning, although as I pointed out to you, we are near resistance, and sometimes after a big run like this, we go up and we test resistance. So the weekend review is where I put my bullish picks. Let's flip this to bullish. So this is going to pull up those things that meet bullish criteria. Now, a lot of them, like for example, AMR, this one is potentially viable right here. It doesn't have my short-term bullish signals coming in. The weekly bond goes red, so it's pulled back. A lot of times these stocks are extended. So I will look through the top 10 to see if there's anything that's setting up. And I've learned, because I've watched Rob do this time over time again, and he's done a great, he's just found some great stocks, and he always seems at the Wealth 365 event that he has found some great stocks to show us about. But what I like to do is I like to use my stuff, just like everybody likes to use their own stuff. So I have, with Rob, taken some of the signals I've been using for a long time, worked with his programmers, and we've created a tool set that sort of matches what I've been using in TradeStation, Thinkorswim, HGSI, and other platforms. And I want to just talk about it for a few minutes because it's going to be what I'm showing at the Wealth 365 event. The whole excitement that I have about wealth charts, beyond building a friendship with Rob Hoffman and learning how to use his tools and others, is it simplifies my life. All right. I take that weekend review watch list and I just play with that list throughout the week, adding a few things here or there. And here's what I mean by playing with the list. You will notice these dots here. These dots represent similar signals to what I might use in other platforms. There are 4 dots possible. You'd have to have a big gap up to see the 4th dot, which if I see one, I'm going to show you, but they don't occur very often. The big gap up is something that I learned from smart people, the O'Neill disciples. I said I like to do it a little differently, and I've added a couple filters about from a trending perspective and where it closes. But if I see the big gap up dot, that's something that makes me excited. Similarly, on big volume, I'm looking for volume similar to what you might see in other platforms when there's a unusual volume that day. The 3rd dot is a breakout signal. The 4th dot is a momentum signal. So I can scan for stocks. For example, does anything have 4 dots? Nope. Let's just look at all stocks. This is, talk about quick. Here's all stocks in the whole universe, and here's a 4-dot one. Okay, so I don't know this company, and it gapped and crapped. So it's not even that exciting, although interestingly, it did close on the upper part of the bar, which is why I still got the signal. So it's just 4th bar at the top, that's the big gap up. This one is big volume. The 3rd one is breakout, and the 4th one is momentum. Then you have a squeeze. Then you have a PSA arc switch. These represent red candle highs, green candle lows. Here is my bongo indicator. Here is my high jump oscillator. And then this is a relative strength and an OBV, which I'll talk about on the Well 365 event. The other thing is this triangle, which is my early market signal, early movement signal, EMS. Now somebody figured out that because I'm a doc, I called it the CAT scanner, EMS. I've got an REMS I'm working on, and a few other things to keep with that medical tone. If you own wealth charts and you go to add an indicator, you're going to see this. Standard indicators are what you might find. Some of them are not typically found in others, but meaning there's more. You have a lot of traditional indicators. I can tell you that the team at Wealth Charts has been so receptive. I use a different chandelier. So I said, could you give me a chandelier stop indicator? And the next thing I know, I gave them what I wanted, and they programmed it in. Under premium indicators, are indicators, and you can see the various educators listed here. And this is stuff that Rob likes us to give something to his audience that they wouldn't get anywhere else. So for me, you're going to get access at no additional charge. Premium is really freemium. It's premium that comes as part of the program. You will get all of my dots that I just showed you and a single time frame bongo. Marketplace indicators, of which I have and will be offering for sale at the upcoming Wealth 365 event, will be a multi-time frame bongo, so I'm going to probably want to retitle that multi-time frame. And then the high-low jump oscillator and the EMS signal. I'm working on some additional customization, and hopefully we'll have that. If it's done after the fact, then you'll just get it updated as part of your package. To me, the piece de resistance of my marketplace is the scanner. So I'm just going to go to Weekend Review and show you how I've simplified my life. I go to the funnel. I'm going to change the default watch list right now to my buy list. I think I might already be there. Scott, weekly buys. Okay, good. The filters are where the action happens. First thing, price greater than equal to, I don't like to buy cheap stocks, so I'm going to put a 5, which is pretty low. I don't buy penny stocks. I want volume at least 500,000 shares. I want to have at least one bullish dot if I'm buying something. And I want to have no more than one bearish dot. So I can take my list of stocks, which is pretty big, hit apply, and the list just got smaller. So now I can figure out, I don't want to look at that many stocks. I might start here, to be honest, and start looking at the ones that have 3 dots. Aspen, I think of them as a company that does technology around insurance, and they went private, came back public, and that's an interesting day here around, you've got volume, breakout, and momentum. Your weekly bongo turned green. It's too choppy for me. Nothing says to me it's breaking out. It's got lots of overhead resistance. I'm not interested. Doesn't mean it's not going to go up. Then this is a beaten up healthcare, probably either a biotech or specialty pharma stock. and again, I look at the weekly. I should have pointed out on Aspen. Look at the weekly here. It's definitely up from where it came out or where it was. But this is choppy. All these people here, if it only goes higher, I'm going to sell. I'd rather buy it when there's not a lot of stuff above my price to the left. This biotech stock has a lot of stuff to the left. And it's been in a deep downtrend. It's probably a dead cat bounce. But I paid attention because it's got a volume breakout momentum in a squeeze with a PSR reversal and a new bongo buy. A lot of biotech stocks look like this week. It's not strong weekly. It's trying to turn around on the daily. Exelixis looks a little different. Now, it too has been in a downtrend and it's a messy looking chart. But if I look at where it's at right now, it's in a nice uptrend channel. It had 3 dots out of a squeeze on massive volume, and it made it to my buy watch list. I'd rather have a buy than a sell EMS, and just because it's on a list, it means I watch it closely. It doesn't mean I just buy it because it's on a list. Arista Network is another one on my list, and you can see it's in a big bull run, a pullback and breaking out. And if you look just to the left, going back to, say, beginning of the year, it's kind of breaking out to its annual high. So that one is more interesting to me. This has been a huge performer, and I like buying pullbacks in a longer-term uptrend that are breaking out. Too many stocks to look at, so let's make my life easier. Go back to the funnel. I believe that the biggest moves that I am going to see occur in a squeeze. So let's just add the squeeze. Apply. So now I still have too many to look at, but there's less and less. Rank them by dots. And let's look at HPQ. So when I look at it on the weekly chart, big uptrend, pullback, moving again. And I look here, it broke out above the 50. I like that. Massive volume. I got volume, breakout, momentum from a squeeze. Again, there's still a little bit of overhead supply here, but only $2 or $3 worth. This one looks interesting to me. So I might just, how about Marathon Petroleum Corp? Again, this is what you see in this market. Big uptrend, pull back to support. Here's my EMS. I've got volume in a breakout, a new weekly bongo. That one looked interesting to me, but still too much work. Let's go back. How about, I want to require a longer term uptrend, and this is tough because there's going to limit the stocks, a bullish bongo weekly. Now, since the market's been down so much, it's probably hard to find these stocks. So now I've got a bunch of stocks that make my list. Let's look at, well, ePay I think is this a buyout? Let's see, maybe not. Yep, we don't care about buyouts. I'm not an arbitrage. Site centers. Big uptrend on the week. I always look at the weekly first. Pulling back, certainly has a bullish posture right there. And it's now breaking out. And if I go back, this is January 5th. I don't have any overhead supply until I get back to November. I don't even worry about that. So here's a stock breaking out, great long-term uptrend, new EMS indicator, 3 dots, squeeze, all 3 bongos are positive. So SITC, it's a REIT. We know REITs are getting stronger. That's another way of finding things. So I could go through, now I could say, all right, maybe because the market's down, I don't want weekly bongos bullish, but I want a bearish daily, a bullish daily bongo. Again, a lot more stocks. And again, I could look, does anything new come up here that I want to look at that we haven't seen before? Housing looks kind of like that. Biotech, they've been beaten up. I can tell you that a lot of these have great earnings, and they're starting to show up on my bullish screens. The problem with the housing stocks, not that they're not going to run and go higher, but this stock is at 92, almost 92 and a half. It's $7 away from the 200, which is clear cut going to be resistance that I have to break through, and it's got to break through the 50, and it's got a fair amount of overhead supply. So I'm not rushing out to buy these, but if I look at Lennar, Pulte, a lot of them will look very similar. Now, maybe I want to tighten this down a lot. All right, so in a bullish market where I'm going to go bullish weekly, bullish daily, and I want a bullish EMS. Boom. All right, so this is the best of the best scan. These are stocks that have been in a longer term bullish trend, which is the bongo weekly. are now turned bullish in a daily trend. Maybe someday we could get days since it changed. It has all bullish dots. It's in a squeeze, and it's fired an EMS signal within 3 days. I haven't looked at Valero today, so let's see. So, is it in an uptrend weekly? It's kind of loose, but absolutely, even though the weekly doesn't look great last week. Is it an uptrend daily? It is. Again, it's a little loose. It's getting near its recent highs. Had an EMS signal, and it had one bullish dot on breakout. Triton, clear uptrend on daily and weekly. Again, not too much on the overhead supply. So I really tightened it down, and Marathon and SITC continue to show up on my list. So, and here's Emerson Electronics. Kramer loves this historically. It's kind of a sideways stock right now, so it didn't really excite me, but it's above its 250. It had 3 dots on Thursday. An EMS came in on this week as well. I'm going to watch this, but I just see it's in an area of congestion, and I'd like to see it break out before I get too excited. So what I showed you is I can skinny down the list I have to follow. I can do it for bulls, I can do it for bears, and if I look at all symbols, we'll see if the list grows. Now let's do it by dots again. And most of these we've probably looked at, but if I didn't want to skinny down the list and look at all comers in the market, I could do that as well. Now, I did a buy watch list before over the weekend where I look at a lot of charts, and you'll be able to see that the two that met these criteria, both bongo and weekly up, which means not a lot of stocks are in weekly uptrends right now, an early warning signal, early movement signal, positive dots in a squeeze, and we'll look at Hologics here. This is in the medical technology field. Yes, it came from an uptrend. It's been going sideways. I need more convincing that it's breaking out. It's into an area of congestion here, but you know, it's got the criteria, bullish daily and weekly. It's got positive dot. It's got an EMS signal. So I love the scanner as a way to thin down the stocks. A lot of people ask me about what am I looking at. We've looked at several of them that I liked. I like it. Look, I put together a list of stocks that I'm going to watch closely. It doesn't mean I'm going to buy them, but these were some of the better charts that I saw. Some of them were because they're breaking out. Let's scroll down a little bit more. Some of them because they had pulled back and were starting to move off of support. Horizon, which we looked at already, was a stock that I thought looked interesting from a breakout perspective, which is why it came up at the top, perhaps, of Rob's Wealth Scanner. Now, a lot of people might ask me, but Jeff, you probably got 60 stocks here. How do you watch them? I got a simple answer for you. Wealth charts. I go into Wealth Finder, and I stick different watch lists into Wealth Finder, and personally I'm looking at the hour. And when stocks start populating the hour, I start getting really, really interested. Now, in a really fast market or a market that's changing, you're going to start seeing them marching from minute to 2 minute. But these are the strongest stocks in the market right now, and I can find them intraday with Wealth Finder. On that note, have an outstanding week. Join us at Wealth Charts or the Wealth 365 Summit, and hope you like this. I welcome remarks. Have a great week. Thank you.